Every parent wants a responsible kid, someone who does their homework without a fight, keeps their word, and eventually does not need you to remind them of anything. But most of what we think builds responsibility does not. Nagging does not. Punishment does not. Long term. And doing everything for them definitely does not. So what does the research actually say? Let's go through it. In 2002, researcher Marty Rossman analyzed 25 years of data following 84 kids from preschool into their mid-20s. The question, does doing chores as a kid actually predict anything later in life? The answer was yes, but timing mattered enormously. Kids who started doing simple chores at age 3 or 4 were more likely as adults to have strong relationships, do well academically and in their careers, and be self-sufficient. Kids who did not start chores until their teens saw the effect reverse. It backfired. Why? Because responsibility is not a switch you flip at 12. It is a habit you build through repetition, starting before a kid even fully understands why they are doing it. A 4-year-old putting toys away is not learning tidiness. They are learning, I am someone who contributes. Takeaway, give age-appropriate chores now, even if it is just feeding the dog or setting the table. Earlier beats bigger. Psychologist Diana Baumrin spent decades studying parenting styles, and her framework still holds up. Parents generally fall somewhere between two dimensions, how much structure they provide and how much warmth they show. Purely strict, low-warmth parenting, called authoritarian, tends to produce kids who follow rules only when someone is watching. Purely warm, low-structure parenting, called permissive, tends to produce kids who struggle with self-control. But the combination of high structure and high warmth, called authoritative parenting, shows up across more than 400 studies worldwide as the style most associated with self-regulation, independence, and social competence. Takeaway, responsibility grows in a home with clear expectations and emotional safety, not one or the other. Here's a distinction researchers draw a hard line on: punishment versus natural consequences. Punishment says, you broke a rule, now something bad happens to you. It teaches kids to avoid getting caught. Natural consequences say, you made a choice, and this is what naturally follows. Forget your jacket, you are cold. Forget your homework, you explain it to the teacher, not to mom. Neuroscience backs this up too. Fear-based discipline activates the brain's stress response and shuts down the reasoning centers. Calm, consequence-based guidance keeps the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and self-control, online. Takeaway, where it is safe to do so, let kids feel the real-world result of their choices instead of adding an artificial punishment on top. Psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan built one of the most cited theories in psychology, self-determination theory. It says humans are driven by 3 core needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When those needs are met, motivation becomes internal instead of something you have to enforce from outside. Here is the catch for parents. A 2021 Stanford study found that too much parental involvement, hovering, over-directing, and solving every problem for your kid is associated with worse outcomes. If you never let a kid make a decision or face a setback, they never build the internal sense of, I can handle this. Responsibility requires ownership, and ownership requires being allowed to actually own something, including the mistakes. Takeaway, give real choices, even small ones. Let your kid pick the consequence, the plan, the approach, and let them own the outcome. Albert Bandura's social learning theory, famous for the Bobo doll experiments, showed that children learn far more from observing behavior than from being told how to behave. Kids who watched adults act aggressively imitated that aggression almost exactly without ever being instructed to. The same is true for responsibility. A kid who watches a parent apologize for a mistake, follow through on a promise, or calmly clean up after themselves is absorbing a lesson no lecture could teach. Takeaway, model the responsibility you want to see. It is the most powerful and most overlooked lever you have. So, 5 things the research actually supports. 1. Start chores early, age 3 or 4, not 13. 2. Combine structure with warmth. 3. Let natural consequences teach instead of punishment. 4. Give real autonomy. Do not overmanage. 5. Model it. They are always watching. None of this is about being a perfect parent. It is about giving your kid enough real responsibility, early enough that being responsible stops being a rule they follow and starts being who they are.